we were talking about how you chose the songs, and they were all songs that, technically would work for you, for your voice, but also songs that meant something to you, that also you had some personal connection to. And artists from Duran Duran to Billie Eilish to Pink to Culture Club. I mentioned Noel Coward earlier. But there's one song that I think probably has a pretty profound meaning to you, because it came from an artist that probably has a pretty profound meaning to you, and that's I'm a Man from 1973. And this is a song that a lot of people may not have heard necessarily. Tell me about the background of that song, what it means to you.
Well, I mean, obviously, this is probably the most obscure song on the album, and that was so exciting to me, to be able to do big, well-known songs and to get to possibly introduce somebody to this guy. His name's Jobriath, and he was technically the first openly gay artist to be signed to a major label. He was signed to Elektra Records back in 72 or 73. And it's a very interesting story. He came from the musical theater. He was very talented. He was a pianist, composer. And he met this manager in New York, and he was like, please make me a star, and I can do this. And while he was making his first album, the manager was out there pulling all these PR marketing stunts and this big budget together, and they had this giant billboard over Times Square, and he was doing interview after interview being like, I'm the true fairy of rock and roll, everybody else is a fake. And he had a point, because a lot of the other artists were kind of doing the androgyny, flirting with the idea but not actually saying anything about their sexuality. And he thought it would be cool to actually proclaim it. And I mean, I do think that is very cool. Unfortunately, it was probably a little too early for that. And when the album came out, it just tanked, unfortunately. They tried to tour. He put out another album. It was hard to get past a lot of the homophobia that was built into our society at that point.
And he died way too soon.
He did. He tried after that second album, then he kind of vanished for a while, and then he resurfaced in New York as a cabaret artist that he reinvented himself as, called Cole Berlin. And he had some success in that field, in the cabaret circuit, but unfortunately he passed away with that first big wave of AIDS in 82, I think.
It's just fantastic that you're introducing this person who, he changed music. He changed the world for the LGBTQ plus community.
He was there. It's
he's a hero.
He is. He's an unsung hero, I think, in many ways. He was doing something that maybe people weren't quite ready for yet, but that we have to kind of acknowledge, because now there's been enough of us that have done it and slowly but surely have moved the needle.
Yeah.
10 years ago when I came onto the music scene, it was a very different landscape than it is now. 10 years. I keep forgetting that it's more than 10 years. It's 13 years ago, 14. It was so different, as far as people my peers doing pop music, there wasn't any other out gay man in U.S. radio market, so it was like the Wild West, and it was exciting because I knew I was part of something new. Yeah. But it was also challenging, and there were a lot of obstacles. But now you look at now and look at the queer representation this year at the Grammys, for example.
Right.
It's just we've come so far, but it's because of artists like Jobriath that started to push and started to show us that it's possible.
Yeah, but it was there were a lot of years there, from the early 70s to 2010 with you. There were a lot of years when every time somebody said it out loud, it moved the needle a little bit.
Yeah.
And some of them, like Jobriath earlier on, paid a really steep price for doing so.
Yeah, he's almost like a martyr in some ways.
Yeah.
But he was gorgeous, and he was so talented, and he's got such charisma on the records that he put out, and yeah, I'm just excited for people to maybe check him out. There's an amazing documentary called Jobriath AD that came out in, I think, 2012 or something. It's so fascinating. So check it out.